the reason that that doesn't work anymore is because women feel comfortable, playing the field and doing what they want for as long as they can because they know that
Yeah.
this and this is going to support them, and they're not really aware that it's coming from anyone. That's something that I call that santaism, because it's like Santa brings everything. So
Yes.
people who don't understand that someone is paying the cost, they will say things like healthcare should be free, education should be free, everyone should be allowed to live in America. And it's like, this is the should be allowed. It costs
Yes.
money.
Yeah.
It costs something, but they're not aware of the cost.
We have a great, great, great sponsor for today's show. It is Rumble Wallet. Oh my gosh, we love Rumble Wallet. You may have seen the conversations happening online lately. Censorship is back, and it is happening everywhere. Platforms are controlling narratives and pushing the stuff that they want us to see. We need to fight back. Rumble is the only company that has stood the test of time and deserves our support. On one side, Rumble is challenging big tech censorship, but now, on the other side, they have introduced something that will give us protection from the big banks that are shutting us off. Banks can cancel our accounts and freeze our cards. So that is exactly why Rumble has launched Rumble Wallet. It's a wallet that no one can cancel, and a wallet that supporters can use to instantly tip creators like ourselves here at Timcast without any middlemen taking cuts. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money. Not a bank, not a government, not a tech company, not even Rumble can touch it. It's yours. It is only yours. It's for you and to protect you and your family, your and your future. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. You can buy and save digital assets like Bitcoin or Tether Gold in one place. Tether Gold is real gold on the blockchain with ownership of physical gold bars. It is not only a wallet to buy and save, but it also allows you to support your favorite creators by tipping them with the click of a button. There will be no fees when you tip this channel or others, and we'll actually receive the tip instantly, unlike other platforms where we have to wait for payouts. That's a game changer, quite frankly. That is a game changer. Let's be honest here. Support this show and other creators by clicking the tip button on this Rumble channel. It is wallet.rumble.com. Again, download Rumble Wallet today, open an account, and step away from the big banks for good. Wallet.rumble.com or search Rumble Wallet on the app stores. We have Homath here. I just want to open up. This is what we're going to be discussing. The Gen Z romance gap, why half of young men are not dating. What is going on here? I don't know what's going on. This is why I had to bring in Homath. Homath, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
What is going on, Patriot? I had to bring you in for this story. I had to figure out what's going on, and there's no one better than you to break this down. What are your thoughts on the great, I guess they're saying the hoe-less generation? This is a generation with no hoes. And what is going on? Where are the hoes at is becoming a very salient question.
Yeah, it's I mean, I don't know where to start. It's such a broad question. The attitudes that men and women have towards each other, young men and women in particular, have changed a lot. I am in, a very particularly good position to understand this because I sort of like aged into and out of my dating market value in such a way that I started dating Gen Z girls, like as they were, getting old enough to date.
Right.
In my 30s, I was dating Gen Z girls in their 20s as they were rising in their market value. So I got to date millennial women when I was young and Gen Z women when I was, starting to age out. And I can see the attitude changes that have come through, the internet and changes in culture. And you can list I was trying to make an acronym for it. Like I used the awful acronym in my last video for the affluent white female urban liberals. I'm trying to make an acronym for the things that get taken over that send messages into society that really change what people think. And they're things like government and media and education and, of course, technology. And they're creating attitudes. The messages coming through these things are creating attitudes in both men and women that they're more misanthropic. They like people less. They go out less. They have less hope.
Mm-hmm.
The women have higher expectations of the men than they used to. People are colder towards each other. They're much more calculating.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I noticed that younger women were much more likely to just want somebody that they liked. And as I got older, I mean, and this is also a function of me getting older too, but I noticed that the women are much more looking for men that can do something for them, and that something can be, it can be excitement, like sexual excitement, or it can be money, which is what I've drawn here. Can you see my whole screen?
Yeah.
Cool. So it can be, either the one thing or the other. But what I've noticed is that more and more of the young women seem to be, splitting that up between people. Like they're getting one thing from one place and one thing from another place. You've heard of hoflation.
Right.
You've seen the Whatever podcast, which is just I just love that Brian does that so often and so perfectly, that he just brings on these women who are, he says that he's not looking particularly hard to find examples of these awful attitudes in women. But even if he is, it's just really important that people see that, because it's the entitlement, and it's the egotistical. Like, people have been asking me to make videos on egocentrism, and that really is at the core and at the root of it. I think egocentrism has been increasing since the boomer generation. I'm sure you've seen those memes where it's like they have the old sepia tone photo, of the old, like the guy in the top hat and the woman in a bonnet, and they say, like, we just want a better life for our children, and then the next generation is, we just want a better life for our children, and then the boomers say, you entitled brats, get your own money, and then the millennials say, kids, not happening, right?
Right.
So it just sort of started with the boomers, the entitlement and the egocentrism, the me generation, and it's getting worse and worse every generation.
Yeah.
So I think that's at the core of it. And, there's so many aspects of it. Like, this is why I keep making successful videos about it. There's so many aspects of it and so many things to watch out in the field of dating, and so many strings to pull on. Like, economics has a role in it, and changing demographics has a role in it, and the affordability of living has a role in it. Like, women just don't want men who can't afford a basic life, and more men can't afford a basic life. But
right.
But basically it is, if I was going to put it all into one bubble, it's the way that we view each other has changed, because so many other things have changed, and I'm working on a way to sum that up.
Well, it's because even at the macro level, okay, we see these issues with the dating market, like you said, the way that I totally agree. I think Zoomers are increasingly distrustful of basically everyone. I think some of that is obviously like an internal issue with Zoomers, but I think a lot of it is external. I think, like you said, demographic change. I mean, again, we have a very low trust society now. So again, people are just increasingly skeptical. Men are terrified because of the Me Too movement. Women are terrified because of like feminism. It's internalized sort of a fear of men. But then even at the micro level, I think about in my own life, I come from a Christian background. I know a lot of great men, great women that would make great husbands, make great wives, and they just can't seem to find each other. So even removing the macro trends that we're seeing, even with the stock of people that would make great spouses, they're even having trouble finding each other. Like, all the institutions that would have facilitated those people finding each other are just gone. It's like, what, 70% of couples are forming through online now? I mean, it's like crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The breakdown of society is like, it's almost complete. People are really mostly just sitting at home, looking at the phone, and getting all of their ideas through the phone. And it's so, I don't know, ironic, I guess, is the first word that comes to mind, that I'm trying to fix that through the phone. And I'm trying to say to people, like, hey, while you're here, get a grip on reality, and try to remember that. And remember isn't even the right word, because these people never lived that life. But try to realize that real life, doesn't happen. It's not mediated through a screen. And you're only seeing what people want you to see, and you're supposed to get out and go have real life experiences with people. But whenever I tell people that, they just say, well, how am I supposed to do that? No one else is doing that.
Yes.
I have coaching clients who say, where am I supposed to go to meet girls? And I go, well, what about this, and what about this, and what about this? And they go, no one's there. They talk about church. I think Pearl Davis, Pearl.
Yeah.
I think she was the first one to clue me in to the fact that that opportunistic women had begun using church as a place to target innocent men to be used. Like
Mm-hmm.
they kind of know that they've lost their market value.
Mm.
Just gonna write lies here coming out of the phone to be clear about it. They know that they're losing their market value, so they go to church and they find guys who are all innocent and they say, "Oh, I found Jesus. I'm clean and pure now."
Sure.
And so like even church is not a great way to meet women anymore. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
if you don't meet someone in school, which they all think they're too young to settle down anyway, then where are the social places you're supposed to go to
Yeah.
meet people? They're gone. The third places are evaporating. And yeah, it's all going through online. And that is all mediated through the apps. And the experience of the apps, like you don't have to tell this to any man.
Right.
We all know. Like
Yeah.
even though I had times that I was successful on apps, I had years where I was like I remember one girl back in the 20 teens, I think, trying to tell me that she felt bad for me because the apps are so hard on men. And I was like, what are you talking about? But a few years later, I learned, I figured out exactly what she meant. I kind of fell out of the top 20% there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to tell men how hard those apps are on them. Um, but women usually don't get it. Like I made a video about this a long time ago about how I wish I kept the drawing. I had a girl make a profile for me because, she
Mm-hmm.
thought that it was what I put on the phone
Right.
that was not working. This must be bad information. So I let her do it, and I let her choose a picture of a guy that she thought was cute. So we made a fake profile with a guy she thought was attractive. And we tested her written profile with my photo and with this guy's photo. And she saw the difference was night and day. And she just never really knew how to process that information.
Mm-hmm.
So women are not really getting what the experience of the apps is doing to their own minds. Like people
Right.
don't have enough perspective on their own minds to know that their experiences are not normal.
Yeah, well, it's like the women, the impact that apps has on them is they have perceived options, like they have endless options, which isn't the case off of the apps. And then for men, it's perceived scarcity, which also isn't the reality off the apps. And so for both people, it ends up forcing them into making bad decisions where women they're passing up on what would be great options, and then
Yeah.
men again with perceived scarcity, they just take the first woman that's available and end up in a really bad situation. I've seen this happen time and time again where a lot of men that are my age, I'm 25, so a lot of Zoomers, as soon as they get their first girlfriend, even if it's a terrible match, a terrible fit, they just go all in. Because again, a
Yeah.
perceived scarcity that they've grown up around, and especially if they went onto the date, like the dating apps, it just one shots you, and you just immediately think there must be something wrong with me. So if a girl finally likes me, then I just need to lock
Yeah.
this down as quick as possible.
Yeah. And I mean, if it is that hard to meet anyone and start a relationship, is it perceived scarcity?
It's
Is like
true.
at
Yeah.
what point does it become actual scarcity?
Mhm.
Because it's scarcity of attention. It's scarcity of how much time you can actually get talking to women that are interested in you.
Right.
So, I understand why somebody would, go for the first one and make something more of it than it really is.
Right.
And yeah, people come to me for solutions. And one of the things that I'm really, really good at is getting people to understand themselves. Like people come to me with a question and they say, why did I feel this? Why did I do this? What do I do about this situation? And I'm really good at like walking them through themselves until they find the answer.
Hmm.
But I just don't have all of the solutions for what do we do in a society that doesn't have options for us.
Right. I mean, because that's the thing is the applications people give are just from older people, especially, are just kind of lazy. Like they just don't understand the reality of the ground. I mean, the church thing's a perfect example. Like I'm a Christian. I'm a devout Christian. I would not really recommend church as a place to find a spouse purely because most of these really I got like churches that are worth your time to attend.
Mhm.
There's not really gonna be anyone your age that's there if you're young.
Yeah.
And then to your point, there is occasionally, but oftentimes they could just be a viper. They know better. Or even if they really had this change, you're still signing up for a lot of like baggage that maybe you don't realize you're signing up for. Because again, a lot of these guys that are in these churches, and by extension the girls, but that grow up in the church and stay in the church, have a degree of innocence, a degree of insulation from how the world actually is.
Yeah.
It's just a really grim situation. So it's like, I mean, best case scenario, you could, but it seems like the only couples that I know from my life found each other in college or
Mhm.
online through the apps mostly.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
Yeah, that makes sense. So they found each other in college or through the apps. And it's not, is it, I mean, what percentage of your friends would you say are actually finding relationships through the apps?
It's like 20, 30%, I would say.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
Very
So you
low.
just got a lot of single friends.
Yeah, yeah. And it's becoming in vogue. This is really specific to DC and New York. I've noticed this has become
Hmm.
very in vogue to set friends up with. I know it sounds crazy, set friends up with each other, but like that's a very
Yeah,
rare thing for Zoomers to do. And so
right.
I've heard like in the last 2 or 3 years, a lot more of my friends going on blind dates, these sorts of things. But my hometown, Memphis suburbs, that is unheard of. That's where most of my friends are single and really suffering. I don't know if it has to do with maybe New York and DC having the probably a much higher proportion of single women because of the way careers just work, the way the industries work. Uh, but yeah, it's a lot of these guys that again have really good jobs, but that's it. They live to work. They're really getting hammered.
So they're not like you're saying they're not interested in dating or
They probably would be, but a lot of them have tapped out because they have a Hinge account that gets one like every month, and so
right. So you're saying what I got a little confused with what you're saying there. You're saying that people are setting their friends up with each other, but they do that less in DC and New York?
no, I'm saying in New York and DC, it seems like the dating market is actually a bit healthier, which is funny because I
Oh,
think the narrative online, especially on the right, is that these cities are like cesspools with all these awfuls, and that's true. But it does
yeah.
seem like that's where you're finding a higher proportion of couples than you would find.
Right. Yeah, definitely when I lived in the cities, it was easier to get attention from women. Like that's where all the young people go to meet each other. It's just that most of them are, insane.
Right.
When you live in that really dense social, it's like a black hole. It's like a social black hole. It's like gravity. And
Hmm.
and the more density of opinions that you're surrounded by, the more likely people are to have them. And the women that I would meet, like right in the heart of the cities, were their opinions were absolutely insane. And I would like get
Hmm.
to know them for 2 or 3 days and just go, "There's absolutely no way that this is going anywhere. I'm not gonna,
Sure.
buy a ring for someone who believes the thing you just said. That's like
Right.
setting my whole life on fire." So it's like that's where they all are, but they also are, you know, yeah, I'm sure you've seen that graph also of the um, like if this is more conservative and this is more liberal, or maybe it's the other way around. But they have they show the men going like from liberal, like slightly more conservative, and they
Oh,
show
right.
the women going
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is this is to me the core of what's happening and why,
Yeah.
because that's women setting the frame. They're using their phones. They're negotiating collectively. So I made a video called "Baby Talk" about how they try to talk down to you. They try to control situations. I
Hmm.
made a video called "Who is a 10" about how they collectively negotiate through the phone. They have this network that they would never have in real life without social media,
Yeah.
where they take all these, the rules that are forged in the black hole of the cities, and they just communicate them outward through the phones. And then the women get in their heads that like they're gonna go protest ICE, and if their husband says no, then you have to divorce him because he's abusing you. There is
Yes.
just insane kinds of beliefs
Hmm.
that come through the phones, and they feel them so strongly, and they believe that that's true. And how are you supposed to date women like that?
Yes.
I just didn't try. I just stopped trying. I moved away.
Well, because you're unable to go on rescue missions for two reasons. I hate this narrative from the right wing, from conservatives, is they place all of the blame on men, where they're like, men just aren't
Yeah.
strong anymore. Like women are desperate to be led, but it's these. There's a good. Scott Greer says it. There's a good man scarcity. There's this
Mhm.
scarcity of men. He's using this to mock these conservatives, but
Yeah.
it's like, okay, maybe that's true. Men's like testosterone has gone down a little bit, but the women just, even if there was a like total, alpha or whatever, women just by and large really don't seem to have the desire to be led, because by and large
Yeah.
they can lead their own lives because the economy
Yeah.
facilitates that, and now they can be a man and a woman simultaneously.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So they're like, this is men listen to me a lot more than women do. And so I craft my messages mostly towards men, obviously. And, the main message that I tell men is, number one, I talk about individual problems, and I say, for example, in my baby talk video, like, when women talk to you like this, here's how you respond. Here's how you deal with it. So
Hmm.
I give them real life skills. But number two, I say that, like, no matter what the circumstances are, the answer to the situation is always be more of a man. I always use this little red arrow
Hmm.
to just symbolize, moving upward, getting better at things, becoming stronger, grow your money, grow your portfolio, grow your skill set, grow your social network. Be more of a man is always the answer for men, but that doesn't guarantee it's going to work. Like, that's not a
Sure.
that's not a promise of that's not a contract that says you're going to get a woman if you do that. When I was in my 20s, I had a very sudden time where I started changing myself and I became more physically attractive, and then women liked me a lot, but I still was not very much of a man. I still was very liberal, and I believed all the stuff they taught me in college and everything, very
Hmm.
wishy-washy.
Hmm.
And I learned kind of slowly. Like, I went from, a mess to good looking enough to be successful on the apps in like 1 year. And then it took me about 6 years to become more of like a man, like what a
Sure.
man should be.
Yeah.
And I noticed that women responded better to it. But as time went on and everyone got more liberal, and as I moved again towards the center of the city, the more they would just reject it.
Hmm.
They really don't want to be led. They say they want to be led,
Yeah.
but they want to be led in the way that they already feel. Like, they want you
Yes.
to go fight ICE for them or something. And it's
Yeah.
like, but that's not what being a man, yeah, that's you setting the frame. That's you telling me what you want me to do, and this is not what I believe is right. So it's like, either you have to get behind me. I had a drawing for that too. They're all cut up. I'll just redraw it. I had a drawing with a man in the center, and then there's danger over here, and where she wants to be is over here. So it's like, people talk about bad boys and everything, and why do women like bad boys? Well, it's because they want you to be more bad than the danger.
Sure. Right.
And so women are perceiving ICE as the danger and not as illegal immigrants, which is, insane.
Yeah.
And there's no way that we can get a hold of that. There's nothing we can do about that, because we just don't control the media that they're watching.
Hmm.
So, it's being becoming more self-possessed and everything. It doesn't it's like a chemical formula. It's not really like addition and subtraction, where the more of a man you become, the more women will listen to you.
Hmm.
It's like, you have to also understand what she perceives
Sure.
as safety, what she perceives as good and evil and right and wrong. And there are some women who they'll just be very impressed, like, oh, you work out, oh, you dress well, you have your life in order, you have a good job, but you don't believe all my crazy liberal things, so that's it. I'm ghosting you.
Hmm. Yes. Well, that's like such a good point as being more, because something I've noticed. We saw the data come in a few months ago where it inverted. Where now men, the more higher proportion of men want to be uh, a father, have a family, etc., than women. Because that was always the
Hmm.
stereotype. It was like, oh, women will do whatever it takes for a ring. And
Yeah.
men are the ones holding out on these women, and et cetera, et cetera. That got completely flipped on its head. Now it's the other way around, where it seems like
Yep.
the majority of my friends that are men are like very desperate for a family, and that sort of comfort that comes with that. And the women
Mhm.
are increasingly more willing to test the waters in their 20s and 30s and see what they can do before they, I guess, settle down, for lack of a better word. So it's just really bizarre. And in addition to that, I'm noticing. I don't think this. I think it's a healthy impulse, but it's not a good tendency to have. Is a lot
Hmm.
of men, their goal in life is to get married and have children, and it's like, I agree that's noble, and I want that as well. But that should be an outcome from success. Like like is generated from success, like a great
Yeah.
family life, etc. I don't know what your take is on all that.
Yeah, I mean that's the formula that we used to have. That, you'd be born and you'd grow up and you would I think I have that somewhere else too. Just redrawing all my charts today for you. Uh that you basically would be born and you would grow, and like your attractiveness starts at, in your teens and peaks when you're about 27 and comes down slowly. And for a woman, it starts in her teens and it peaks at like 22, and then it comes down, a little bit faster than a man's.
Hmm.
And then also, as a man, you have a secondary value, which is your money, which, ideally gets high and stays high. And at some time around your, physical attractiveness and your economic attractiveness, you just become a viable candidate to get married. And these
Hmm.
things are just not, they're just not working like that anymore. That
Right.
paradigm is shifted because of very artificial pressures on the economy, and people don't understand that they're artificial too. Like, I make this point so much. I've drawn the picture, I've shown it so many times, but just drawing the picture, it communicates the concept, but it doesn't prove it. So
Hmm.
now I have to make a whole big long video to prove it. Um, I'll zoom in. It's just the reason that that doesn't work anymore is because women feel comfortable, playing the field and doing what they want for as long as they can, because they know that
Yeah.
this and this is going to support them, and they're not really aware that it's coming from anyone. That's
Hmm.
something that I call that santaism, because it's like Santa brings everything. So
Yes.
people who don't understand that someone is paying the cost, they will say things like, healthcare should be free, education should be free, everyone should be allowed to live in America. And it's like, this is the should be allowed. It costs
Yes.
money,
Yeah.
it costs something, but they're not aware of the cost.
Hmm.
So I don't know how to communicate that to people. I think it's fundamentally impossible to get most people to understand that, especially women. I think the average man, when he grows up, understands that things aren't free, someone pays for
Yes.
them. But I think the average woman pretty much never learns that.
Yeah. Well,
Even as she gets older, she just sees things as raining from heaven.
absolutely. Well, I mean, that's why
Yeah.
you see like by women again. This is you saw this over and over again in the United States. Was like after the murder of Irina Zarutska, so many
Hmm.
of them had more of an issue of people's reaction to the murder than the actual murder itself. Yet they will go
Hmm.
around and say, "I can't walk at night. Isn't this horrible? This is the fault." And again, this visual of who is the enemy in their head is like this
Yeah.
chud, like frat bro or something. When in
Yeah.
reality, like the reality on the ground is it's actually the immigration policy and the crime policy that
Yeah.
is sort of deployed by the party that you keep voting for. So it's like there's just like you're pointing out this
Yeah.
complete detachment,
Yeah.
cognitive
They're
dissonance.
insane.
Yeah.
They're insane. The technology has made them insane. And, I it might be, some people might think it's an extreme opinion, but um, I don't think I don't think that we can really survive as a society if we continue to let people use media this way. It's
Yeah.
just, I have this little drawing I've used over and over, where the girl is just watching the phone and it says "man bad," and then that is just her worldview now. And then she starts seeing this guy as doing all the stuff that she saw on her phone. She starts acting on it, and never really gets up to the place where she's, observing herself from the outside and saying, should I believe these things? It's just this cycle
Yeah.
of just repeating the phone gave me feelings, and then I see someone in real life, and so my feelings must be coming from him.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna get out of that ever.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's gonna. This is why it sucks for these people that are. Again, I respect their impulses, very like liberty minded, etc. But it's like we're in such a mess. It's going to take drastic action to get out of a lot
It's
of these
gonna be, yeah,
pinches.
it's gonna be drastic. Like there's gonna be there's gonna be, all there already has been major changes in population. That's going to continue.
Hmm.
There's going to be huge changes in lifestyle. I think we're going to see things become less available that people are very accustomed to.
Yes. Yeah.
There's just not going to be the same support structure.
Hmm.
That's again the the cost of things, the support structure that's always been there, that the roads are always going to be paved. That's just not true if you don't have people doing it. um,
Yeah.
I think at some point people will start noticing, like, hey, what happened to the quality of life? And then the way that I've been saying it on Twitter is that women are going to lose their rights one way or another. Either they'll come to their senses and say, okay, maybe we shouldn't be in politics,
Yeah.
or they will keep going, leftward. They'll keep going this way.
Yeah.
That spike will keep getting bigger, and then everything will crash so hard that they won't have, like, the concept of rights will be silly, because
Yeah.
it'll just be like, well, no one's washing the clothes and I have to go kill an animal to eat. So
Yeah.
what do you mean rights?
Right. Yeah. I totally. It's the only way it can go. I mean, South Korea is what 10 years ahead of us. They already have this divergence like at an extreme level. So we're already
Yeah.
seeing that again. The men just collectivize there and they enact their will
Yeah.
at the ballot box. So with that, I know we're kind of running out of time here. I just wanted to read this quick super chat to give your thoughts on it.
Sure.
This was from
Sure.
Guido 240. I believe it's a man. He says, as a parent of a 16-year-old and 13-year-old, I worry so much for my kids, a boy and a girl, and their future and finding a spouse slash family. I don't
Yeah.
know what your thoughts are on. I mean, we kind of touched on a lot of that, but
Yeah,
it's got to be a tough
we did
spot to be
go
a
over that.
parent right now.
Sorry, one more time.
No, I was like, it's just got to be a tough spot to be a parent right now because it's one thing telling that to
It
a
is, yeah.
16-year-old, but how do you tell that to their parent?
It is. I'm actually, being popular and having, millions of people know who I am.
Hmm.
I get a lot of women coming into my inbox, and I'm having to think about, like, what if I'm a parent at some point?
Yeah.
What kind of world is that going to be? I'm putting myself through that. Like, I can't really imagine what it's like for people who are already parents,
Hmm.
but don't know what to tell them any more than I would know what to tell the kids, because I know what the
Sure.
formula is. You have to make something of yourself, and then you have to show it to people, and then someone likes it, and then you work on your relationship and you have open communication and all that. But if there's nowhere to meet people, and if
Mm.
the requirements are insane, they want you to be part of, like, a polycule or some insane liberal city crap, then it's just a non-starter. So I guess all I can really say to that person is, like, I feel ya,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
It is a lot to worry about.
Hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, I agree. A lot of this is like, what are you going to do? You kind of have to look towards policymakers in a lot of these instances. It's very unfortunate, but it's just the reality of
Yep.
things.
Yep.
Well, we are running out of time here. I really appreciate you coming on
Of course.
and demonstrating in real time all of this. Is so fantastic to have you. Where can people find you to get more? I imagine a lot of people know already, but for those who don't.
Yeah. Yep. So you just, look up How Math anywhere. That's on YouTube. I have linkter.ee/homath. That's where you can go to find everything that I do. You
Okay.
can find my videos, you can find my charts, you can find everything I do there. YouTube is the main thing I do. I'll be making a lot more videos soon now that I'm finally settled in a house. And yeah, like, if you can't find everything I do from here, you just don't know how to use the internet. So just go to the link tree.
So true. Well,
Yeah,
awesome. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on. I hope we
of
can have you
course.
back on soon because this is fantastic. I
Yeah,
really
sure.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thanks for having me.
Alrighty. See you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye. All right. Well, that was the great Homath. That was a blast. That was real. I mean, it's blackpilling in a lot of ways because he's absolutely right, obviously. But him laying out the formulas and actually sort of elaborating on just kind of stuff that I'm pontificating, and he can actually explain it in detail. It's excellent. So hopefully we can have him back on soon because, again, there's so many different topics we can get into. But with that, we got to wind the show down. It's unfortunate. We're out of time, folks. So with that, you can follow me on X and Instagram at Real Tate Brown. Come give me a follow over there. And we'll be back tonight for Timcast IRL at 8 p.m. Make sure you are there, 8 p.m. Eastern. I've been informed that I need to be telling you which time zone it is. 8 p.m. Eastern. And this show will be back tomorrow at noon Eastern. So I will see you then. Thank you very much for watching.